right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Scrubs Holding Space. My name is Devidra Kaba, a board certified nurse practitioner in psych. I have with me two lovely other psych nurse practitioners. I want to say guests, but Anise is not really a guest anymore. She's transitioned. Um, Anissa Womack and Rebecca Woodlead. Welcome in, welcome in. So, of course, in Scrubs Holding Space, our goal is for nurses to be able to take off the scrubs and be human. You know, sometimes in our real lives, our family sees us as nurses 24/7, and we don't have any spaces. Just be Rebecca, just be
Mhm.
Devidra, just be Anissa. So this place allows that and us to be honest about our experiences as nurses so we don't feel alone. So that's what we're here for. So today's topic, drumroll, we're talking about emotional drains and compassion fatigue. And we're also talking about boundary setting and saying no for this segment. Um, you know, this is a hefty one, so I'm excited to dig in. So, this episode is for because we're digging into this series for new nurses so that they can understand what to prepare for as they grow in their career so that they don't get burnt out. Okay. And we're some veteran nurses saying, hey, girl, hey, bro, we got you. Listen. Okay. So I want to start off with a little bit of some real life comments that are out there for some people and their experiences in
Yeah.
healthcare on the floor. So this is from a Facebook group called Healthcare Baddies, whatever the title. And so the topic is CNA life. What's something that it instantly tells you it's about to be a long shift? Now, you know this is going to be funny.
Mm.
So the first comment says, when half of the floor hasn't been put in bed, coming in on an 11 to 7 shift. It's 11 p.m. Why are these people still up?
Yeah, oh my God.
Why are they still up? This is how you know it's about to be a long shift. Another one says, when we're short staffed. I mean, when are we
Mhm.
not? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Walking in and somebody fell already.
Yeah, you walk into it. Oh my God.
I want to scream sometimes, and you know somebody knew it because the patient's like, I told somebody, nobody came back.
Hmm.
Yeah. Another way you know it's going to be a long shift is the schedule, who you're working with.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the truth.
Uh-huh. So all of these kind of tap into what we're talking about today. Some of the things that just drain us, that could be work related. So can you guys relate? What's something that you know is about to be a long shift when you come in? What's something you've experienced that's like, okay, I already know this is about to be a long day.
Mm.
What have you guys seen?
To the short staffing, I still have this vivid memory of being an ER nurse, and we walk on, and you have your normal assignments, and then normally they would have like on the side it would be like a designated code team. So like if somebody
Mm-hmm.
coded like upstairs or somebody else, these are the three people from the ER that are going to go. And we
Mm-hmm.
were so short staffed one night that our beloved charge nurse wrote on for the three people for the code team. It was the Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Spirit. And I still have a picture of that to this day. I was like, if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what else would.
Like the amount of patients saying we need to pray because I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
who's coming. I just hope
But
they get
no.
here. And then when
Yeah.
you see them, you're like, oh, thank you.
You're like, oh no, yes.
What about you, Anissa? What's one incident where you saw coming in, this is about to be a long shift? I know
When
you
you
have one.
still see the nurse pass a meds or running in rooms and she is not
Mm,
even charted or ready to give you a report.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a key indicator for real.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a few of those myself. Okay, good. So these CNAs and nurses on here are not alone. We understand.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's dig into our conversation. So we'll start with emotional drains and compassion fatigue. So I always have to put a common denominator definition in here because some people may not know what that means. It's kind of like narcissism. It's been
Yeah.
so watered down, everybody has a definition. But according to a reputable source, but compassion fatigue is people whose professions lead to prolonged exposure to other people's trauma, um, and this can be make them vulnerable to compassion fatigue, also known as secondary or vicarious trauma. Right? You haven't experienced it, but you've been exposed to it so much, you feel the grunt of it all the same. These healthcare professionals can experience acute symptoms that put their physical and mental health at risk, making them wary. That's the key part of giving and caring. So it's like, I'm here and I'm going to, do what I got to do, but I don't have more than that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you guys relate?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
hmm So nursing is a deeply human work, and that comes with emotional demands. We can't separate the two. Okay, we know that, but it comes with it if you don't, as a new nurse, don't pay attention. Okay, even a seasoned nurse. So I'll start with Rebecca.
Mhm.
So, did emotional connections with patients and families become an energy drain over time for you? And how did you combat that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable. I think it takes a lot of knowledge and experience and strength that you kind of have to get your sea legs underneath you to be able to give that level of emotional connection that is a part of our job, like you said, that is inevitable, right? Unless you're
Mhm.
a sociopath, you do care and you get sucked in and you feel bad for these people, but you still
Mhm.
have to maintain a level of objectivity that
Yeah.
allows you to not only complete your job but go home at night and complete all your other jobs of being in a family or having a home or a dog or whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it definitely becomes a thing. I think, coming from the ER or even inpatient psych or even the jobs that I do now, right?
Mhm.
It's like you said, we see and hear a lot of trauma, and it is a muscle that we kind of learn to flex throughout our careers of
Yeah.
being able to be emotionally present while having
Mhm.
a level of detachment that is healthy and not calloused, if that makes sense.
You this because that's a good point. Hearing you work in the ER, I think personally, for the family component, family and patient component with the ER, it's such a quicker turnaround. And I
Yeah.
hear ER nurses saying that they like it because they don't have to do all of the emotional stuff as much. Yeah, yeah, when there's a death, or
Yeah.
but usually the doctor has to do the death notification, or and they don't have to. They're like, hello, goodbye. What's your name?
Yeah.
Birthday? Okay, we're going to send you up to 33304A.
Good luck. Yeah, that's gonna be your home. Yeah, and I think I got a good, I mean, that definitely is a fact, and it is something
hmm
that I did cherish about my ER days. But then going into inpatient psych, where you would have those patients for weeks on end sometimes, and if they were lucky enough to have families that did care and that were involved, you
hmm
had to have that muscle of appeasing both parties while staying true
hmm
to your main job of caring for your patients to the best of your abilities, which
Yeah,
sometimes can get a little, tricky. But
it
I
can.
I think it's like I said, a flexed muscle. It's something that you learn over time.
hmm And I like what you're sharing, like depending on the setting, it's
Mhm.
going to determine like your level of involvement and
Yeah.
between psych and ER. What about you, Anissa? Did emotional connections with patients and family become an energy drain over time with you in some of the specialties that you worked?
I think definitely, especially like Rebecca said, like especially working in that inpatient psych.
hmm
Um, I think it mainly comes into play like when you see those patients who are coming in, they may not really have as much family. They may
hmm
not have as many resources. They may even be homeless sometimes. And you're
Yeah.
working closely with, the discharge coordinator to try to get them placement and
hmm
getting to know that patient over, especially if you've worked multiple shifts in a row with that patient
hmm
and you kind of know their backstory, where they came from.
Yeah.
I think it definitely can become an emotional drain,
hmm
because you want to kind of be everything for that patient, and you just kind of
hmm
have to know how to separate, because a lot of times those patients end up right back in
They
the
do.
mental health hospital again. So then they become frequent flyers, as they say, and so you
hmm
can develop that attachment to them in a sense because you've gotten to know them.
Yeah.
Whereas in other settings where they're in and they're out and you may not see them as often, so I
hmm
definitely think it can become an emotional drain over time.
It can. And oddly enough, ladies, one area or specialty that because I've worked a lot of different specialties, but there's one specialty that I didn't experience the emotional drain, but actually brought me to a place of gratitude. And
Mm.
it was interestingly with fertility, with
Wow.
egg transfers and IVF and things like that, just to see because you're walking like you're just there for the surgery, like the egg transfers and whatnot. Um, but girls, I mean, it was still an emotional place because there's some women who had multiple eggs; they're down to their last one. We had one where the lady they dropped her petri dish of eggs.
Oh
That was
no.
it. There was a
Oh,
mistake in the lab and it was dropped, and that was it. Like that was all her eggs.
oh
And
God.
so it brought a place in me where it was like it did something on the inside of me. I also saw one where there was a surrogate.
Hmm.
They treated it was a this couple treated this lady like pure trash as a
Oh,
surrogate because they paid her. So I saw some things in there that specific specialty didn't bring emotional drainage. It made me see a part of our specialty that not many people talk about that's there. And I
yeah.
had a level of compassion and gratitude like for my own life because seeing people like wanting a child so bad, it's the last ditch effort and they're they're depending on this doctor to help them like you have it. And so of all the specialties, that was the one that I it was sad, but it did something different on the inside of me. Have y'all ever been in a setting that didn't like it was sad, but it changed something on the inside of
I was literally just about to say I had the exact same experience. I never worked as a hospice nurse or I never worked in hospice, but I had the honorable opportunity to be basically the hospice nurse for my grandmother when
you?
she died. And it was very strong. I had just literally like 2 days before, I had just gotten married, had flown straight from my wedding to her house to care for her for like the next week and whatever. But it was such a beautiful experience being able to do that and to see that part of it and care for somebody, like they're a baby when they cared for you, like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And it's something that I would have expected going into it. I expected to feel very emotionally drained. I expected to feel very overwhelmed, and I was just expecting to just have to ride that wave. And it was truly, honestly, the exact opposite. It soothed
Mhm.
something in me in a way that, I always say that if I hadn't wasn't already in school for psych and P, I was like, I would
Mhm.
have definitely gone into hospice nursing just because I really loved that being able to connect with the
Mhm.
families and being able to connect with those people and give them comfort in a time when that's all that matters. It's such a
Mhm.
simplified version of nursing where it's like just your care, like your
That's it.
emotional care. It's just comfort, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm. And for some
Mhm.
nurses, they would be like, "No, I couldn't." But and this goes into our last topic: the beauty of career alignment with how you're wired as a person. Yeah. So you're
Absolutely.
kind of speaking to that. What about you, Anissa?
It's funny that you said that, Rebecca, because I dabbled in hospice nursing for a short while. And I actually had an experience where you saw families coming together and there
Yeah.
was like a lot of riffraff and like
Oh, yeah.
arguing. And I never imagined that that would be the
Yeah.
part of the job that would drain me and make me, because
Yeah.
some people would walk into these homes in the middle of the night if you were the one on call and you didn't know what you were going into. And
Mhm.
so no one prepares you for that. Like if you're going to take that type of role, you think
Yeah.
Mhm.
that, you're helping this person as they transition, you're going to be there for the family, but then you don't think about, the other side of it. If there's like family that haven't seen each other in a while,
Yeah.
or,
Sure.
they sometimes may even think, okay, well, you put this person on hospice, we weren't
Mm.
in agreement. And
Yeah.
there's like that misconception that hospice is what ultimately, takes their
Sure.
loved one out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I've seen that quite a few times. But on the
Mhm.
flip side, as you said, I actually had the opportunity to help my grandmother as she was on hospice and transitioning. And I got to see a total different side of,
Yeah.
Mm.
hospice. I was able to help the nurse,
Mhm.
even as we did postmortem care on her.
Oh,
And just having that nurse there, that wow, and just seeing
Mhm.
like the compassion. And that was mainly the side of hospice that, I was thinking that I was getting into at that time.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
there's absolutely, there can be some burnout in that area,
Yeah.
not thinking forward about how families come together at such, a precious
Mhm.
time in their loved one's life. So
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
such a valid
That's
point.
good. That's
Yeah.
powerful. And so the gem that I'm taking from you guys from what you're sharing with this is to focus on the right thing so that you don't
mhm.
experience the energy drain. Because I hear you guys
Mm.
hovering these people who are transitioning in such a way to minimize the outside noise. It's like even though your family's in discord, I'm gonna make sure you're good. Like your focus is where it's supposed to be because they're
Right.
the actual important factor in this thing right now. Yes, y'all have some confusion. I'll step in where I can, but I'm gonna make sure my patient who's actively transitioning, who's actively going through labor has everything. And I think that if we as nurses can uh, effectively hone in our focus in those
Yeah.
moments, we do better long term.
Yeah, that's a really, really good
Yeah.
point. Like being able to
Yeah.
prioritize the important part of it without, which is so much easier said than done, right? But without letting all of that outside stress and noise that, like you said, it's unfortunate and we do have to deal with it to a certain degree, but that's not
Yes.
what we have control over.
Mhm.
That would help a lot with burnout and
Yeah.
compassion fatigue for
And
sure.
it's and like you said, it's not necessarily easy, but it's you have to build that muscle because otherwise the patient suffers, you suffer, and
Yeah.
it's like it takes the joy out of what you came here to do, So you got to build that speak up muscle. Hold on, y'all.
Yeah.
Mom's passing. Can we
Yeah,
let's
for sure. Yeah, yeah,
you know? Cool,
yeah.
cool, cool. Let's go to the next topic. Oh, I love this. Okay. So let's start with Anissa this time. What are the early signs of compassion fatigue that new nurses might overlook?
I think when you get to the point where you like pull up, to work and you're just like, I just don't want to get out of the car.
How do I know what you're about to say?
Yes.
I feel I feel
Yeah.
like that's the first sign,
Yes.
because when you are a brand new nurse and you get your first job, you're excited, and
Yes.
you're like, I'm gonna save the world, I'm gonna change lives. Like you have all these big aspirations, and you like get into work early, and you're like, well, what can I do? Like, how can I
Yeah.
prove myself? And then slowly over time, something happens, and you start to feel like that
Sure.
culture of the
Mhm.
workplace, it starts to take an effect on you.
It
And then
does.
it becomes, oh my God, like I pulled up to work, but I got
Running.
here early, but I'm gonna sit here until the very last moment before I have to go clock
Yeah.
in.
It's 6:58. Well,
Yeah.
let's just walk.
Absolutely.
So
Like
then it's like when they get to
I
the
know
clock.
I have 1 minute to get to the unit.
Yeah.
And you said it workplace, bad workplace culture is like I think of like bad Chinese food. Like it tasted
Absolutely.
good and it made you full, but it makes you sick afterwards. Like,
Mhm.
ugh, you know,
For
it
sure.
pays the bills, but it's sickening. What about you, Rebecca? What are some early signs of compassion fatigue that a new nurse might overlook?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I was like, to what Anissa said, like that jaded feeling, right? And I think that kind
Hmm.
of A, it creeps up on you, but B, I think it's worn as a badge of honor from a lot of veteran nurses of like
Yeah.
the jaded of not caring. And my other point in this was sort of there's a word for this, and I know that I know this word, but I've been thinking about it for 30 minutes, can't think of it, but like the generalization of patients, right? Like
Okay.
like she was
It's a
talking
good
about
word.
earlier, like you have like a homeless patient, maybe a patient that's an addict or a patient
Yes.
that's difficult or whatever. And then in your head, you're automatically assuming what this patient's going to do, how they're going to act, what they're going to say, what they know.
Kind of like stigmatizing them, or they
Yes,
stigmatize. Yeah.
exactly. And so I think
Hmm.
that's sort of an early thing where, yes, it can oftentimes kind of masquerade as like pattern recognition because, yeah, a lot of times these patients are like that. But when
Hmm.
we kind of fall into this, I know what this patient's going to be like, it takes away from our
It
ability
does.
to show that compassion in order to potentially get a different side from that patient.
Oh, that's such a
I
great
just want to
point.
say, have you
That's
guys
such a great
ever
point.
gotten report and they're like, oh, this patient,
I
they're
know
on
exactly what
all
you're
these
going to say.
medications. They,
Yeah.
they're always on the call light. They do
Mhm.
this, they do that. And then when you go in,
They're
you
fine.
come in as your natural self, show that patient a little extra attention. You
Hmm.
explain things that are going to happen and kind of set the tone. And that patient doesn't bother your entire shift.
I'm telling
Not a
you.
problem at all. That happened
Yeah.
to me almost exclusively every single day when I worked on the inpatient unit at, for my behavioral health job as a nurse. That was like,
Hmm.
I would get such terrible report and I would go in there and be like, what do you need? What's going on? And then they would be like,
Hmm.
well, I want to shower, but I can't because I'm scared of this, or I need this and nobody will give it to me. And I'm like, you can have
Hmm.
that. And just
Yeah.
that little bit of compassion would
Simple.
create such a different like environment for the entire unit, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I like what y'all are digging into because really the start of the shift, and this is for new nurses, how you start the shift, building that patient rapport, engaging with them, giving them the simple things. Because I've seen Rebecca do this firsthand, and this was my zhuzh too. At the beginning of the shift, making that change of shift round and engaging with them. And you need anything? Hey, how are you? To set the tone for the remainder of the shift. I'm here if you need anything. My name is this. It makes a huge difference because you're showing a person that you care and they treat people differently that they most of them, we always have the exceptions,
Sure,
who they
sure.
feel like actually care and you
Yeah,
actually do what you say you're going to do.
right.
They won't give you much grief. They'll be like, okay, have a good night, nurse D.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So let's get into the next one. So Rebecca, what boundaries helped you protect your emotional energy as a vet nurse? You know this now. What did you put into place to help protect your emotional energy? What boundaries?
You know, I am a very emotional, empathetic person. So I think I might have a little extra to give without feeling,
Mm-hmm.
drained. I really thrive on that emotional connection and like mo emotional interaction. I love
Mm-hmm.
the drama, I really do. But I think that having a good self-care routine, a place, and we talk about this a lot even now in my job, right? This follows you through no matter where you go in your career, but having a
Mm-hmm.
group of people that you really align with,
Oh,
whether,
yes.
and being able to go to them and just dump, right? Just like the classic, like, I need to get all of this off my chest and I need to just talk this out with you. There is no solution that needs to be had. I just need to tell you this crazy thing that happened to me today and sort of process it.
Yes.
I'm super lucky. My husband is also in the field, so we can do
Mm-hmm.
that together, and we both understand in a way that is maybe sometimes difficult to find in a partner. But
Mm-hmm.
doing that and really prioritizing, and I think this comes also as a flexed muscle that you get when work longer, is saying, especially after something really traumatic happens or something really
Mm-hmm.
intense, is actually utilizing a debrief period, whether
Yes,
that
ma'am.
be to just go take a sip of water, step outside, play on your phone for a minute, like whatever it is, taking
Mm-hmm.
yourself out of that, anxiety, that adrenaline, and having a moment to just bring yourself back down and prepare yourself to go back in. I think that's super helpful. As a veteran nurse, that was really difficult. I didn't do that at the beginning, right? I just
Mm-hmm.
powered through, but
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have done that long term and continue to stay in this field.
What was that moment where you had the aha where you're like, I have to change this. I have to practice self-care. I
Yeah.
have to have relational alignment in my life. Like, what was the moment, the pivotal moment where it was like, hold on, this has got to change.
Oh, that's so hard because I feel like I was thrown into being in the ER in general, but I had maybe like one good year of ER nursing before COVID hit. So
Mm-hmm.
I was in the middle of it during COVID, and I remember the atrocities of seeing all of that death and seeing all
Mm-hmm.
of that pain and sickness, not and having all the unknowns surrounding us of like nobody knew, it was a very scary time.
Yeah.
And then having to deal with outside people, some people even in my family or even that worked
Mm-hmm.
on that unit with me, like belittling it, or, and I'm like, I'm holding up a phone for somebody to say goodbye to their loved one a
Yeah.
second before they get intubated that they're never going to see again. You know what I mean? Like, can't
Mm-hmm.
come and visit them, can't say. So that was a very pivotal time for me that really, really struck hard. It was very
Mm-hmm.
difficult. Like, I had a lot of emotional fatigue when it came to that. And so that
Yeah.
was a time where I really had to like take a step back and say, okay, I have to find something outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
I switched from nights to days because I was like, nights is not making this easier on me.
Yes.
Like, so I started making little changes that prioritized, my mental health and my overall well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hit rock bottom. I hit a point where I was like, there's nowhere to go except for
Mm-hmm.
up from here.
Yeah, we're at the bottom, people.
Yeah, but it took me a long time to perfect that muscle as well. Like even little things, I mean, I'm still learning things to this day of,
Mm-hmm.
how to kind of prioritize myself.
And so others can hear what you're saying and at least be aware of the direction they can go. Three things I heard you say: self-care,
Yeah.
relational alignment, and prioritizing your mental health. I want to dig into one,
Hmm.
um, and then I want to go to and hear Anissa's input. That
Yeah.
relational alignment,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to put a pin there. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's just me, and I've heard a few other nurses say this, but once they graduated or walked into a new role, people that they were friends with going into it or family, you acting funny.
Me?
You're moving. No,
Oh.
them saying things that you would
Oh.
hear
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
from, you don't call anymore like you used to. You're just like, what's
Yeah.
up with you? And they
Right.
don't understand
Mm.
the workload that you have a new level of responsibility. And I noticed personally, they kind of erased themselves from my life
Yeah.
because they were pulling on me more than I could give, and they
Yeah.
weren't understanding like what I have to do at work mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and they weren't willing to adapt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys experienced that. And
Yeah.
so when you say that relational alignment, even today, some there are now that I'm doing more on the mental health side, that's more taxing on my brain.
Mm.
And I've noticed personally that my relational alignments now are people that can actually receive and are
Yeah.
listeners. Because
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many people had clumped up around me that were takers and pullers and
Yeah.
needed to talk and I need to ask her. And they never asked, how was your day?
Yeah. For
Mhm.
sure. And I think also on like an introspective level, I talk about my two best friends are girls I met in the ER. One's a nurse practitioner now, one is still a charge nurse of the ER. And
Mhm.
we talk about this all the time. Literally, we're just talking about it today. We see such heinous things on a day-to-day basis. We hear such heinous things. It becomes such a normal experience for us that I will
Mhm.
find myself like bringing it up to my mom or to my family. And to me, I'm just like, ha ha ha, because it's like
Mhm.
just something I experience all the time and they are just appalled by it. Yeah. And so being able to find people that you can kind of just be yourself with, because
Raw.
yourself kind of inevitably changes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big difference as well. I mean, not just what they're giving you, but also what you have to unleash on them,
Correct.
you know?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. And as a caveat from
Yeah.
people that do listen that know me, I'm not talking about everyone, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm looking for candidates, more applicants for listeners.
Right.
Okay, this is so good. Um, what about you, Anissa? What boundaries helped you protect your emotional energy as a veteran nurse?
I would say definitely like you guys are saying, it's what you do outside of work for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So spending less time doing the things that I didn't want to do or that I felt obligated to do for those, people who didn't understand, what it's like to work, and see so many things and hear so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Finding, things that brought me joy, whether that was, a new hobby or just working on something that I was passionate about in my
Yes.
free time.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that when life gets busy, don't give up those things that you find joy in. Because sometimes we'll be like, well, I'll do that later, or maybe minimize the importance of it because we have something that we feel like is maybe more important,
Right.
for what, how we're going to move forward, or
Yes.
even, someone asking us, because we're natural helpers,
Mm-hmm.
someone asking us to do things for them or help them out in a certain way, and then we find our time filled with, okay, when I'm not at work, I'm doing all these other things
Do do
for
do do do
my
do do
loved
do do
ones
do.
or for
Other
church or
song.
whatever the case may be, and so just making sure you prioritize what brings you joy and what you need to do for yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
then being able to say, I can't, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, but I can't. We have
Mm-hmm.
to,
I'm actually not
that's a,
sorry. I
that's
just
that
can't.
muscle.
Yeah. That was a
Yeah.
full sentence.
Sorry,
Yeah.
not sorry, but I
Yeah.
just can't, and
Yeah.
that's hard to do sometimes, especially if you've been like kind of like that people pleaser, which I feel like a lot of nurses are,
Yeah.
because
Oh
that's definitely
yes.
something that I'm still even working with to this day. But
I am a
just learning,
recovering people
yeah,
pleaser.
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm on my road to recovery. But yeah, I'm sorry I
Step
can't.
one.
And you don't have to even explain why you can't do it. You just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we as nurses. I remember someone telling me so frankly because I just like that. I'm an over explainer,
Mm.
and I would find myself when it came to me saying no, feeling like I had to explain so
Right.
that people's
Mhm.
feelings wouldn't be hurt and they didn't think. And this person told me straight up, "You don't owe them no explanation." I said, "I
Yeah.
don't." He told me that.
Right.
I don't. I
Right.
felt so free. And I was
Yeah.
like, so I've been doing this for no reason. And ultimately, what you guys are saying is to like, there are people who will take advantage of your giving, caring nature. I have people volunteer me for stuff, y'all. And I
Yeah.
be like, oh, I got you signed up for this function. You're going to be doing the helping on the cleanup committee. And me, it's like, oh, I am. Yeah, it's next in a couple of weeks. Okay. And it got to a point now where it's like, did I tell you that was gonna be did I forget a conversation? Oh no,
Right.
I just figured I don't have the problem anymore because
Yeah.
the way my calendar looks, I wish you would sign me up with something.
Right.
Absolutely.
So definitely some good boundaries. So we'll transition out of this point. We're at a good point mark with this conversation about emotional drains and compassion fatigue, boundary setting and saying no. And we'll transition into the boundary setting and saying no. I think we kind of touched on it already, but we
Mhm.
can leave it from the first conversation knowing that emotional strain is one side of it, but the work environment plays a role too in your boundary setting and saying no. So we can begin to really touch on these boundary setting techniques for these new nurses to help cut off that emotional drain and compassion fatigue. So let's talk about boundaries, which of course new nurses and older nurses can struggle with. So I'll start with Anissa again this time. What are necessary boundaries in your personal and professional life? Because I think you guys touch personal, But what about on the professional side with those old head nurses that got an attitude and the administrator that really doesn't listen and doesn't care? So what are necessary boundaries in those areas as a healthcare worker that need to be a new nurse needs to pay attention to?
Hmm. Especially, I would say pay attention to when someone is trying to put off maybe something onto you that they could be
Mhm.
doing themselves. Um, a seasoned nurse, when I first became a nurse, one thing she told me that always stuck with me was to whip them with a pen. So she always said, documentation is key, not
Ma'am.
only for when you're charting, your patient interactions, but also when you're having conversations with, your fellow coworkers.
Mhm.
Because I will tell you one time, that I'm not comfortable with something, or that, maybe I need more additional training, whatever the case may be. And I'm
Mhm.
going to put that in writing.
Yes, ma'am.
So as I escalate this
Real
up and
time.
I'm trying to put these boundaries in place and let you know what it is that I need, I'm going to
Mhm.
have a paper trail to say, hey, this is what I asked for. And this is what, on this date at this time, I had this conversation with Sally Sue and I let her know, and that's going to really cover you as you move forward, on that
Truly.
unit and in your career. So
Truly. And
I
we
put
kind of
everything
talked
in writing.
everything. We kind of talked about this on the last episode about staying late and kind of the
Mm-hmm.
but in the area of documentation, I got time.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay?
Absolutely.
I'm on the computer. I cannot tell you how many times it has saved my license
Mhm.
because I've had patients' families lie. I've
Yeah.
had just different scenarios where they painted a different picture. I had one DON call me in, and I said, "Well," and she questioned me about giving an opioid. The wife said I didn't, and in my documentation it said very clearly, and I documented who was in the room at the time because he was a drug seeker.
Mhm. Yeah.
And in the documentation at the time they reported, the wife was not present.
Right.
So how did she say it? She said, "Okay, thank you. Have a good day."
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll stay over for that. What about you, Rebecca? Those are great topics, Anissa. Drawing that line. What about you, Rebecca, on that professional side, setting boundaries as a healthcare worker?
Yeah, I think that's another, again, just a muscle that you have to kind of, I don't know, at least for me, I had to be burned before I realized it, right? I think, especially as a new nurse, right?
Mhm.
I would always tell people, listen, if you want the extra hours and you want to stay late or you want to come in on your day off, okay, right?
Mhm.
Like, get your money, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to do it and you feel obligated to do it, I want you to keep in mind these people are going to sweet talk you. They're going to act like you are the hero. They're going to act like this, that, and the next, right? And it feels
Mhm.
good maybe for a little bit. And you might get in your head thinking, oh, yeah, these people really love and appreciate me. I
Mhm.
can assure you, 9 times out of 10, at least from my experience, those people just need a warm body on that unit.
They
And
truly
so,
do.
yeah. And so you go above and beyond, you overexert yourself, drain your reserves of energy, you take away your time for yourself or your family or whatever the case may be for people that don't really care about your well-being.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a thing of the higher you perform, the
Mhm.
more is expected of you, even if that's not in your, you know, job
Mhm.
description,
Mhm.
right? So you go above and beyond and great, that's awesome. And if it's for the benefit of the patient, all for it, right?
Mhm.
But you have to sort of kind of cap yourself and keep a really close eye on what you're doing and why you're doing it and
Mhm.
make sure that you're not being taken advantage of because, you absolutely will. And that leads to
Well,
people, they don't respect you as much, obviously,
they
because you don't
don't.
ever, respect yourself enough. You have to know your worth in order to say no. You have to
Yeah.
know that you are the gem on that unit. They need you,
They
not
truly
the other
do.
way around. So being
Mhm.
able to sort of like have that confidence and have that, awareness of saying, hey, this is too much for me. I want to help these people, sure, but I need this time or whatever the
Correct.
case may be, right? If I do this once, I'm going to have to do this over and over and
Twice,
over and
thrice,
over
and
again.
thrice.
Right. So to be, super aware of that and do the hard work on the front hand
Yes.
before you are upset and burnt out, it's, going to be more professional when you're not emotional. If you're able to say, hey,
Correct.
I can't do this, is I don't like where this is headed, versus you're already burnt out and upset and you're like, yeah, because I've been in both. I've been in both places. Like I've done both. Take it from me.
Honey. And What you said is a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah,
but new nurses need to hear this. You are a warm body for them.
you are even
Mhm.
party for them, babe. Yeah.
We don't want to hurt y'all's feelings. How and ever.
Yeah. To the
That's just the
patients, you're
reality.
not. Yeah. To the patients, you are important, right? So that's why you want to put all of your energy in with them. But when it comes to your superiors, unfortunately, in most of the workplace cultures, at least that I have been to, that has been the case.
My many maybe one system that I've been in that was not like that. They actually cared, and I
Yeah.
always tout on that system. It reminds me of the health Chick-fil-A of healthcare.
Yeah.
No, really, that's the only
Right.
one I can. So here's a good segue then to the next question for you, Anissa. I can't wait to hear this. What's the cost of always being a yes person?
Hmm. Burnout. um, wearing yourself out for someone who you can give them a thousand yeses and then watch what happens when you give them that one no.
They want 1,001 yeses
Yeah.
and then 1,002 yeses.
Yeah,
You gotta
absolutely.
stop.
You end up losing out on a lot of time that you could have had for yourself with your family. Doing things that was going to revitalize you, give you that, refill your cup because you've been working, helping other people all week.
Hmm.
So you lose out on that time, and it's time that you can't get back,
Yeah.
because you're sitting there giving more time to people who are at home, you know,
Hmm.
you're doing it for them.
Right.
And that actually brings me to another point. Okay. At the end of the day, healthcare is a business. So one way that you can kind of set a boundary for yourself and know your worth is when they ask you, okay, can you come in? Can you work this? Okay, I'm gonna need X amount of more dollars when I come in.
Ma'am, do
And
you
that in
hear me?
itself is gonna stop them from asking you because hey, this is my price. If I have to come in and work a double, I need time and a half, I need a bonus, I need something
Right.
because you're asking me to work outside of my scheduled hours.
Do you
So
hear
I
me?
so I need extra, you
I had
know.
an administrator. This is when I was working at Cute Psych back in Houston, and they would offer bonuses when they felt like it. They got
Mhm.
to a point to recognize if you're gonna ask the VG, you better have a bonus number in mind and how
Yeah.
much. And other nurses would be, and they would try to make me feel guilty. And it's like I don't care.
Mhm.
Like, that's my cost. So what I'm hearing from you guys is like you need to know your value because Rebecca said it earlier. You're a gym. So
Absolutely.
they need you.
Yeah.
So recognize that you're the gym, they need you. It's a business, and it's okay to say compensation, please.
Right.
Mhm.
My hand is empty.
Sweet talk them like they're sweet talking. Oh, I would love to. Absolutely. That's just going to be an extra $150 on
And
top
let
of
me
that.
tell y'all something. And see me, I'm never too proud to, because right after I came out of MP school, they were so short staffed, y'all, and they hadn't filled my position yet because I was still in the same system. And they were like, "Can you?" And I said, "Are you going to be paying my RN rate or my MP rate?" Uh, because I'm only coming from my MP rate. Oh, we could take care of that. It was like $140, like $80 an hour. Or, I can't remember so long ago, an hour.
Yeah.
Because they have it, and so I'll
Mhm.
come. But
Yeah.
I earned my degree. You're gonna pay me for where I'm at.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna pay me for my time, and you're gonna pay me for the sacrifice made to help you. Okay,
Right.
all right. So great point. What about? I don't know if you answered, Rebecca, the cost of being a yes person.
Yeah, I think I touched on it. I think, just that they lose respect for you.
They do.
If you're that yes person and you say yes to every extra thing or every whatever the case may be, like I said, you do it once, they're going to expect you to do it again. But
Mm-hmm.
exactly to what Anissa said, healthcare is a business. And at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, this is a job. And I think that's a hard distinction to make for some new nurses is,
It is.
like we are caring for people and that can kind of like that ability to separate yourself a little bit in a healthy fashion is super
Yes,
important because
yes,
at the end of
yes.
the day this is your job and your job should not be your life.
It
You are
shouldn't.
here to make money to pay your bills and make a living, whatever the case may be, but you're not
Mm-hmm.
here because you know what I mean, like this is a job, so you need to treat it accordingly. You don't need to be giving every single ounce of yourself to your job. You need to be able to have an appropriate balance to where you're able to be a happy human being as
That
well.
part, because we are human first.
Are human, and you can't do this job if you're not like coming from a filled cup.
Mm-hmm. If I get robotic, nobody's going to be happy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to close this segment out and take my gems away if you guys have anything to add. But the biggest takeaways I'm hearing when it comes to emotional drains, compassion fatigue, boundary setting, and saying no is truly, and Rebecca said in the beginning, a high level of objectivity.
Mhm.
Like, because we care like we're wired to be caregivers, we don't know how to separate it. And you're going to want to build that muscle as a new nurse where I care, but I'm not going to be taken advantage of. So
Right.
learning, and it's a biblical word, discernment.
Mhm.
Like I can express that caregiver pouring out here in the hospice patient, but I'm going to have a level of um, advocacy and objectivity with these families who are in here cussing and cutting up and raising my patient's blood pressure. Hello, our waiting room is here to the left.
Hmm.
We have drinks or not, but you cannot stay in here. And if you decide that you want to have an cause an issue, we have hospital police.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a way that we have to operate in balance as caregivers, where we're not only caregivers, but we're at so many other things, and also that care for self. As much as we care for others, there needs to be a caring for self. And I think we miss that a lot as nurses, that we need to pour into ourselves so that we do feel rejuvenated and caring for others. And it's like a Bible scripture that says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, how can I really care for you and pour into you when I don't even really take the time to care for myself? Doing it, like Anissa said, hobbies, not letting my family time go down. How can I really appreciate the care you need? I don't even do that for myself.